Imagine this. You are standing in the middle of a vast, empty space. The ground beneath you is solid, yet unfamiliar, cold, textureless, almost unreal. Around you, shadowed figures drift slowly. Their forms human but indistinct, faces hidden beneath fabric and darkness. None of them look at you directly, yet you feel watched. Not by them, but by something closer, something inside. You take a step forward. Before you decide to move, your body has already shifted its weight. Before a thought forms, your muscles obey. Before reason arrives, action has already occurred. And only afterward does the mind speak. It tells a story, a justification, a reason. This is the first uncomfortable paradox. You believe you are in control, but control often arrives too late. If you were truly the author of your actions, why do you repeat behaviors you swore you would stop? To repeat behaviors you swore you would stop. Why do you feel emotions before you understand them? Why does fear grip you even when logic says you are safe? You call it impulse, you call it habit, you call it weakness. But what if those are only names you give to something far older and far more powerful? Beneath conscious thought lies a force that does not speak in words. It speaks in sensations, images, urges, and reactions. It does not argue. It does not persuade. It simply acts. This is the unconscious, and it does not wait for permission. Look closely at your life. Look closely at your life. The choices you made are without thinking. The relationships you fell into, not knowing why. The moments where your mouth spoke before your mind caught up. The sudden anger, the quiet shame, the unexplained attraction, the familiar self-sabotage. Were those conscious decisions? Or were they echoes, repetitions of something learned long before you were aware? You like to believe that awareness equals freedom, that once you know, you can change. Yet knowing has rarely been enough. You understand your patterns and still repeat them. You recognize your fears and still obey them. You see your contradictions and still live inside them. So here is the question that unsettles everything. What if consciousness is not the driver, but the narrator? What if your thoughts are not commands, but commentary? What if the story you tell yourself about who you are is written after the decision has already been made? Neuroscience hints at this. Psychology confirms it. Philosophy has warned us for centuries. Action precedes explanation. Emotion precedes logic. Reaction precedes intention. The mind does not initiate as often as it rationalizes. And this is why the unconscious always wins. Not because it is stronger, but because it moves first. Picture a hooded figure walking ahead of you in dim light. You follow, believing you are choosing the path. But the figure never turns around. It never asks. It never explains. It simply walks and you follow. That figure is not fate. It is not destiny. It is not some mystical force. It is the part of you that learned how to survive before you learned how to think. The part shaped by childhood, by repetition, by fear, by reward and punishment. The part that absorbed rules without questioning them. The part that learned when to speak, when to hide, when to submit, when to perform. That part does not disappear when you grow older. It becomes quieter. Does not disappear when you grow older. It becomes quieter, more efficient, more convincing. It disguises itself as you. This is why crowds are so powerful. Why conformity feels safe. Why standing alone feels unbearable, even when no one is watching. You are not afraid of isolation. are not afraid of isolation. You are afraid of activating something ancient inside you, the memory of being cast out, unseen, unprotected. The unconscious remembers what the conscious mind never lived, and it remembers vividly. So the real question is not whether the unconscious exists. So the question is far more disturbing. If it always wins, why does it do what it does? Why does it push you toward comfort over truth? Why does it resist change even when change is necessary? Why does it sabotage growth while promising safety? And most importantly, what happens if you stop fighting it and start listening? Because once you see the pattern, you can no longer unsee it. And what comes next will either trap you deeper or set something in motion that cannot be undone. The unconscious does not dominate your life by accident. It exists because at one point it had to. Long before you learned language, before you learned logic, before you learned how to explain yourself, your nervous system was already learning the rules of the world, not moral rules, not philosophical ones, survival rules. What brings approval? What brings approval? What brings rejection? What keeps you safe? What brings pain? These lessons did not arrive as thoughts. They arrived as sensations, tightness in the chest, a rush of heat, a sinking feeling in the stomach, relief, fear, calm. The body learned at first, and the body never forgets. And then the body never forgets. Carl Jung understood this with unsettling clarity. He argued that consciousness is only a small island floating on a vast, dark sea. Beneath it lies the unconscious, an immense reservoir of instincts, memories, emotions, and inherited patterns that guide behavior without ever asking for permission. You do not think your way into reacting. You react, and then you think. This is the hidden problem. The unconscious was designed to protect you, not to make you fulfilled. Protection prioritizes familiarity over truth, safety over growth, predictability over freedom. Predictability over freedom. And once a pattern proves effective, even if it costs you joy, it is preserved. A child who learns that silence prevents punishment grows into an adult who avoids conflict. A child who learns that achievement earns love grows into an adult who cannot rest. An adult who cannot rest. A child who learns that vulnerability invites rejection grows into an adult who never fully connects. None of these are conscious choices. They are adaptive strategies. The unconscious is conservative by nature. It does not ask, is this good for me now? It asks only one question. Did this keep me alive before? If the answer is yes, the pattern stays. Friedrich Nietzsche took this further. He believed that much of what we call a character is actually the residue of unexamined conditioning. Unexamined conditioning. Morality, ambition, humility, these are often not freely chosen values, but inherited responses shaped by fear and power. According to Nietzsche, people do not suppress their instincts because they are virtuous. They suppress them because they were taught that expression leads to punishment, treatment. Over time, this suppression becomes internalized. The authority figure disappears, but the obedience remains. The prison no longer needs guards. Arthur Schopenhauer was even more blunt. He argued that human behavior is driven by a blind, unconscious will, an endless striving that reason merely decorates with explanations. You believe you want something because it is logical, but logic arrives afterward, like a servant justifying a master's command. Jean-Paul Sartre later described this as bad faith, the quiet lie you tell yourself when you pretend you are free while unconsciously obeying invisible scripts. Scripts written by culture, by family, by trauma, by fear. Modern psychology confirms what these philosophers intuited. Most decisions are made emotionally and then rationalized cognitively. The brain's limbic system, older, faster, more primal, initiates action before the prefrontal cortex becomes aware of it. By the time you think you are choosing, the direction has already been set. This explains a painful contradiction. You can want change consciously, while unconsciously resisting it with equal force. You say you want confidence, yet avoid situations that would require you to be seen. You say you want intimacy, yet sabotage closeness when it appears. You say you want freedom, yet cling to routines that quietly suffocate you. The unconscious is not malicious, it is loyal to the past. Aldous Huxley warned that societies learn to exploit this. Culture does not control people through force alone, but through conditioning, through repetition, through reward and shame. Over time, social expectations sink below awareness and become internal laws. You stop asking, "Do I believe this?" and start asking, "Will I be accepted if I don't?" Viktor Frankl, observing people under extreme conditions, noticed something profound. When meaning collapses, people default to automatic behavior. When purpose disappears, instinct takes over. The unconscious fills the vacuum. This is why modern life feels strangely hollow despite comfort. External structure replaces inner meaning. Algorithms decide what you see. Systems decide what you pursue. The unconscious adapts, but it does not question. And so a subtle tension builds. You sense that something is wrong, but you cannot name it. You feel restless, but you do not know why. You feel trapped, yet nothing is visibly holding you. Because the trap is internal, the unconscious is not the enemy, but it has been left unexamined. And when something powerful operates without awareness, it does not negotiate. It dictates. This is the danger most people never recognize. Not that they lack willpower, not that they lack intelligence, but that they are living under an internal authority they never chose. And until that authority is confronted, every attempt at change will feel exhausting, fragile, and temporary. Because you are trying to overthrow a ruler you refuse to see, and the consequences of that refusal are already shaping your life, quietly, relentlessly.